Top 10 iconic paintings in the world. Since the emergence of the Italian Renaissance, the history of Western art began a fascinating course through different stylistic genres. While 15th century painting focused on portraying the ideal, the subsequent movements explored many other aesthetics and ideas, often in reaction to their historical predecessor. And although there are many remarkable paintings to study from these different art movements, we've narrowed down the expansive list to 12 iconic works that span from the end of the 15th century all the way to the first half of the 1900s. Among this list of masterpieces are some that are so well known they've become a part of popular culture, as well as others that, while famous in art circles, may not be as familiar. For instance, René Magritte's surrealist painting Treachery of Images, which features a rendering of a brown pipe accompanied by the recognizable phrase, "This is not a pipe," has been referenced in film as well as video games. Similarly, Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa continues to inspire authors and filmmakers from around the world. On the other hand, some paintings that have eluded the same attention include Pierre-Auguste Renoir's Impressionist Gem, Belle du Moulin de la Galette, and Marcel Duchamp's Nude Descending a Staircase. In this video we will going to show you the 12 Western art history's most iconic paintings. Vincent van Gogh, The Starry Night, 1889. Starry Night is one of the most recognized pieces of art in the world. It is absolutely everywhere, too. It can be seen on coffee, mugs, t-shirts, towels, magnets, etc. Honestly, it sometimes feels as if the painting's fame has exceeded that of its creator. It is a magnificent piece of art. That Starry Night resonates with so many people is a testament to how its beauty is timeless and universal. Vincent van Gogh painted Starry Night in 1889 during his stay at the asylum of Saint Paul de Mausole near Saint-Rémy de Provence. Van Gogh lived well in the hospital. He was allowed more freedoms than any of the other patients. If attended, he could leave the hospital grounds. He was allowed to paint, read, and withdraw into his own room. He was even given a studio. While he suffered from the occasional relapse into paranoia and fits, officially he had been diagnosed with epileptic fits, it seemed his mental health was recovering. Unfortunately, he relapsed. He began to suffer hallucination and have thoughts of suicide as he plunged into depression. Accordingly, there was a tonal shift in his work. He returned to incorporating the darker colors from the beginning of his career, and Starry Night is a wonderful example of that shift. Blue dominates the painting, blending hills into the sky. The little village lays at the base in the painting in browns, grays, and blues. Even though each building is clearly outlined in black, the yellow and white of the stars and the moon stand out against the sky, drawing the eyes to the sky. They are the big attention grabber of the painting. One of the biggest points of interest about this painting is that it came entirely from Van Gogh's imagination. None of the scenery matches the area surrounding St. Paul or the view from his window. As a man who religiously paints what he sees, it's a remarkable break from Van Gogh's normal work. Pierre-Auguste Renoir, Belle du Moulin de la Galette, 1876. In the 19th century, the Impressionists pioneered a new way to paint world. Characterized by loose brushwork and a vivid color palette, their paintings challenged traditional notions of the practice. In addition to introducing new stylistic considerations, Impressionist artists are renowned for another unprecedented act, bringing painting out of the studio and into the sunlight. While many Impressionists worked on plein air, or, in open air, Pierre-Auguste Renoir is particularly known for his outdoor depictions, with Belle du Moulin de la Galette Dance at the Moulin de la Galette, among his most celebrated pieces. Set in a bustling outdoor dance hall in the heart of Paris, this large-scale painting offers us a glimpse into life and leisure during France's Belle Époque. Renoir created Belle du Moulin de la Galette, an oil painting measuring 52 inches by 69 inches, in 1876. At this time, Impressionism was still in its early stages. Renoir, Claude Monet, Edgar Degas, and Camille Pissarro had held the inaugural Impressionist exhibition just 2 years prior. By this point, however, the artists associated with the movement had developed unique yet unified approaches to painting. Renoir, for example, is known for his gauzy brushwork, vivid color palette, and interest in light, all of which he used to produce paintings of his favorite subject matter, people. This approach is evident in Belle du Moulin de la Galette. Dappled by sunlight, the figures are rendered in loose, luminous brushstrokes. Though many of the subjects are clad in black suits and dresses, a closer look reveals that even these darker hues are made up of a kaleidoscopic collection of colors. "I've been 40 years discovering that the queen of all colors was black," he famously explained. Edouard Manet, Le Déjeuner sur l'herbe, 1863. Luncheon on the Grass. Déjeuner sur l'herbe, 1863, was one of a number of Impressionist works that broke away from the classical view that art should obey established conventions and seek to achieve timelessness. The painting was rejected by the salon that displayed painting approved by the official French Academy. The rejection was occasioned not so much by the female nudes in Manet's painting, a classical subject, as by their presence in a modern setting, accompanied by clothed, bourgeois men. The incongruity suggested that the women were not goddesses but models, or possibly prostitutes. The presence of a nude woman among clothed men is justified neither by mythological nor allegorical precedents. This, and the contemporary dress, rendered the strange and almost unreal scene obscene in the eyes of the public of the day. Manet himself jokingly nicknamed his painting, Le Parti Carré. Luncheon on the Grass. Testimony to Manet's refusal to conform to convention and his initiation of a new freedom from traditional subjects and modes of representation, can perhaps be considered as the departure point for modern art. The modernist reinvention of pictorial space had begun. Eugene Delacroix, Liberty Leading the People, 1830. Liberty Leading the People, Oil Painting, 1830, by French artist Eugene Delacroix. Delacroix started painting after witnessing the violent escalation of protests against a set of restrictive ordinances that Charles X issued on July 26, 1830. For 3 days, later known as Les Trois Glorieuses, July 27 to 29, working and middle-class citizens set up barricades in the Paris streets and fought the Royal Army. Unable to contain the insurrection, Charles X soon abdicated. Louis Philippe, the so-called citizen king, took the throne and created a constitutional monarchy. Historians speculate that Delacroix's dependence on royal commissions prevented him from taking part in the rebellion outright, but he was nonetheless moved when he saw insurgents raise the tricolor, the French national flag, on Notre Dame, a turning point in the rebellion. Delacroix finished the painting in 3 months, and it was shown with 23 other revolution-inspired works at the 1831 Salon, an annual exhibition of French art held at the Louvre. Yet Delacroix, by combining realism and idealism and by applying his characteristically expressive brushwork, created a more modern scene that contrasted with those of his competitors. Contemporary critics and viewers were nonetheless divided on whether the painting was heroic or distasteful. Johannes Vermeer, Girl with a Pearl Earring, c. 1665 and 1999, American author Tracy Chevalier published Girl with a Pearl Earring, a novel directly inspired by one of Vermeer's most famous works of the same name. Set in 17th-century Delft, Holland, Chevalier presents a fictional account of Vermeer, the girl in the painting and the artwork itself. Since being published, Chevalier's novel has sold over 5 million copies worldwide, suggesting there's a shared curiosity about this particular Vermeer work. Here the writer talks about why she's been fascinated with Girl with a Pearl Earring since she was 19 and how that turned into inspiration for the book. Why is Johannes Vermeer's Girl with a Pearl Earring such a popular painting? Nicknamed the Mona Lisa of the North, it's beginning to rival Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa masterpiece in terms of exposure. It's been used on the cover of many art books, and you can now own the painting on cushions, coasters, t-shirts, bags, socks, suitcases, and more. The internet is brimming with images of the girl, either just as she is, or altered for our times, taking a selfie, styled into a manga comic character, riding on the back of a motorcycle with Van Gogh as the driver. Banksy even turned her into graffiti on a Bristol wall, with a security alarm in place of her earring. Rembrandt van Rijn, The Night Watch, 1642 and 1640-42. Rembrandt must have been occupied mainly with the large group portrait depicting members of an Amsterdam civic militia company. In a family album belonging to the captain of the company, the work is described as, the captain gives order to his lieutenant to march out his company of citizens. This implies that the 34 figures in the painting, actually only 18 militia men out of a company of some 100 men who had decided to have themselves portrayed, plus the 16 extras Rembrandt had added in order to suggest a large group of people, were crowding together just before the company was to assemble for a parade. In his painting of this scene, which later would acquire the name The Night Watch, Rembrandt revolutionized the formula of the group portrait as part of his continuing effort to achieve the ultimate liveliness in his work. In the words of Van Hoogstraten, Rembrandt's former pupil, Rembrandt made the portraits that were commissioned subservient to the image as a whole. According to Van Hoogstraten, Night Watch was conceived by Rembrandt to be a unity eenwijzig. Rembrandt's intentions in this respect are difficult to appreciate in the painting's present state, since it has been trimmed on all sides, most of all on the left side. As a result, the figures of the captain and his lieutenant have moved to the center and into the utmost foreground of the composition. A copy, painted by Jared London soon after The Night Watch was finished, shows that the original composition was much more dynamic and coherent than its present state indicates. Diego Velasquez, Las Meninas, 1656-7 or over 350 years, art lovers have been fascinated by Las Meninas. This complex oil painting by Diego Velasquez is an incredibly nuanced depiction of life in the court of King Philip IV of Spain. Perhaps one of the most important paintings in all of Western art history, this masterpiece from 1656 continues to influence artists today. The title, which translates to Ladies in Waiting, is a turning point in art history for the way in which Velasquez broke from the stiff formal portraits that typically defined royalty. The large canvas shows Infanta Margaret Teresa, the king's daughter, surrounded by her entourage as Velasquez stands behind an easel painting her portrait. Now housed in Madrid's Prado Museum, Las Meninas is a highlight of Velasquez's accomplished portfolio of work. But what is it about this masterpiece that has intrigued the public for centuries? What makes it so groundbreaking and what was Velasquez trying to convey through the painting? Let's take a look at what makes Las Meninas so iconic and the legacy that it's left behind. Leonardo da Vinci, the Mona Lisa, c. 1503–1506 Mona Lisa, also called Portrait of Lisa Gherardini, wife of Francesco del Giocondo, Italian La Gioconda, or French La Joconde, oil painting on a poplar wood panel by Leonardo da Vinci, probably the world's most famous painting. It was painted sometime between 1503 and 1519, when Leonardo was living in Florence, and it now hangs in the Louvre Museum, Paris, where it remained an object of pilgrimage in the 21st century. The sitter's mysterious smile and her unproven identity have made the painting a source of ongoing investigation and fascination. The painting presents a woman in half-body portrait, which has as a backdrop a distant landscape. Yet this simple description of a seemingly standard composition gives little sense of Leonardo's achievement. The three-quarter view, in which the sitter's position mostly turns toward the viewer, broke from the standard profile pose used in Italian art and quickly became the convention for all portraits, one used well into the 21st century. Leonardo da Vinci, the Mona Lisa, c. 1503–1506 Mona Lisa, also called Portrait of Lisa Gherardini, wife of Francesco del Giocondo, Italian La Gioconda, or French La Joconde, oil painting on a poplar wood panel by Leonardo da Vinci, probably the world's most famous painting. It was painted sometime between 1503 and 1519, when Leonardo was living in Florence, and it now hangs in the Louvre Museum, Paris, where it remained an object of pilgrimage in the 21st century. The sitter's mysterious smile and her unproven identity have made the painting a source of ongoing investigation and fascination. The painting presents a woman in half-body portrait, which has as a backdrop a distant landscape. Yet this simple description of a seemingly standard composition gives little sense of Leonardo's achievement. The three-quarter view, in which the sitter's position mostly turns toward the viewer, broke from the standard profile pose used in Italian art and quickly became the convention for all portraits, one used well into the 21st century. Thank you for watching.